Fisher, good afternoon. I'm Veronica Cope. This is your preliminary hearing, your probable cause hearing. I do want to let you know, Mr. Lewis, your attorney is there with you. I want to let you know that you are this is being recorded. This is on YouTube. So if you need to speak with your attorney, just let your attorney know. Don't speak out loud because it will be, anything you say or do is going to be recorded. So let your attorney know, and then he can either let the court know or he can go ahead and mute, okay? All right, so we will go ahead and get started. Ms. Henderson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. We are on the record in State versus Carlton Anthony Fisher. Mr. Fisher is present in custody, represented by his attorney, Mr. Lawrence Lewis. They are both present at the jail by video due to the judicial emergency. Mr. Fisher has 3 warrants: 20W15074, aggravated assault; 20W15075, aggravated assault; and 20W15076, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. The state has 1 witness, Officer Kerry Simmons. If I could please swear in Officer Simmons. Officer Simmons, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Please lower your hand and state your name.
I'm Police Officer Kerry Simmons.
Where do you work?
With the Duluth Police Department, ma'am.
What do you do there?
Uniform patrol.
How long have you been a police officer?
Approximately 2 years, ma'am.
And have you been post-certified the entire time with all events related to Mr. Fisher?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your role in this case?
I was the primary officer.
Okay, and what did you do as the primary officer?
We received a call. The neighbor called in for hearing noises and banging going across the doorway there at his neighbor's apartment. Decided to call 911 and have us check it out. I responded. I responded to the scene. I heard the only thing I've heard when I got there was a loud television set. I was hoping it was just all a mix-up. So I knocked on the door, and Mr. Fisher answered it, identified myself as a police officer and the reason for me being there. He said that he wasn't in an argument with his wife and invited me inside. We walked in. He immediately sat down. As you walk into the residence, it's a small 2-bedroom apartment. He took a left and sat in a dining room chair. I started talking to him about the events that brought me there, the argument and all that. He said he got into an argument. He worked all night. He got home. He went to make breakfast for his children, who said that they were hungry, when he noticed that there wasn't any eggs in the house. So he went and woke his wife up about that. That's essentially how the argument started. While speaking to Mr. Fisher, the primary victim here, Mrs. Sheena Marie Heyman, and 4 juvenile children approached from the master bedroom that was all the way in the back. There was a small hallway there. As I was speaking to the defendant, I asked him if it had escalated, to put hands on each other at any time, which he said no, but then juvenile 1, an 8-year-old black male that was there, he immediately announced, pipe right up. I saw him hit my mom, essentially. I said, all right.
Which kid was that?
That was juvenile 1, ma'am.
What's his name?
Jaleel Millsap. Jalealmilsa.
Okay. And how old was Jaleel?
He was 8.
All right. What happened after he said, I saw him hit my mom?
About that time, my backup officer arrived. I separated mom and her kids in the back master bedroom, and I spoke to the defendant there on the couch. I had him move over to just across the way to the couch near the TV, so he's a little further away from all the knives in the kitchen. I started, going into it. What does that mean? Did you actually hit her? Essentially, what he said was that Mom got up, got dressed to go get eggs, and right at the front door, it escalated a bit. They got into each other's faces, and essentially said that when they get like that, they're animated. Their hands are moving, and that's probably what he believed was the child believed that was the striking.
What time was this?
This call out, I was dispatched at 8:42 in the morning, and I was at the apartment by 8:54.
All right. So what apartment was it that you went to?
This was 1037 at the address of Northwoods Lake Court in Duluth, Georgia, otherwise known as the Promenade.
What county?
This is Gwinnett County.
All right. So you get there, you talk to the defendant, he let you in. The mom and the 4 kids were in the master bedroom. When you were talking to the defendant, juvenile 1, Jaleel, says, I saw him hit my mom. So you separated everyone, backup came, and Jaleel said that his mom got dressed to get eggs, and then things escalated over by the front door?
No, that's what the defendant said after I started talking again. Okay. Yeah, I started conducting more investigations.
All right, and what happened next?
Okay, so I basically get his statements. He says he was adamant. No hands-on at all.
This is a defendant we're talking about.
This is the defendant. So, all right, cool. I had my backup officer, Master Police Officer Fernandez, come up and sit with the defendant, and I went into the master bedroom and talked to mom and their children. While I walked into the master bedroom, there's a master sliding closet door. Immediately, as soon as you walk in, it's on the left.
Okay.
That was pushed in off the tracks. I started talking to mom, the primary victim here. She says she was awoken by the defendant yelling about the eggs. He was being aggressive, getting in her face. She got dressed to leave to go get eggs, and by the front door, he became very agitated. He got up into her face. I asked her if she remembers getting hit. She had no recollection whatsoever. She did say that this happens often. When she does, she just kind of agrees with him and then tries to leave the area. And that's what she did in this date. She gets up into her face. She departs back to the master bedroom. She effectively retreats to the master bedroom. She says once there was a moment in between, but eventually the defendant, he comes back into the master bedroom. They get into an argument again, gets up in her face again, in the master bedroom, and then she attempts to retreat into the master bathroom. While she's trying to close the door on the master bathroom, the defendant forces the door open, grabs her about the throat with both hands, and pushes her like back and down against the wall. So there's the sink there and the tub, but she kind of goes in between there, knocking things loose. He lets her get up, and then he turns and does it again, grabbing her again, pushing her down, and this time he squeezed. She said that she thought she was going to die. She was scared for her safety and all that. I had her walk me into the master bathroom. I saw shampoo bottles and things knocked over, and that was about it. I would like to know, when I was speaking to her, she kept just going right back to the bathroom. I had to like walk her through, like, hey, what happened next? What happened next? Because she was just all over the place. You could tell she was she had a lot of adrenaline. She was stressed. The story wasn't very clear.
When you said her story's not clear and she's agitated, was it not clear in a way that made you question consistency or credibility, or in a way that did you feel in your training and experience was within the realm of what people do when they're excited? Could you give me a little more information about what you mean about kind of she was all over the place?
Yes, ma'am, and that's exactly right. Due to training, knowledge, and experience, it would appear to me that if I give you an example of, say, someone in a car accident, they don't generally remember immediately what happens after the impact. They remember that impact. It's because that was the most traumatic event. It seemed to me that her getting strangled, that's when she thought she was going to die or sustain serious injury. That's what she kept going back to. So she'll start talking, yeah, we were up by the front door, and then he pushed me down to the bathroom. There was a big jump there that came from the front door to the bathroom. I had to walk her through those series of steps.
Okay, and you said initially the neighbor called 911 because they heard, thumps and noises?
Exactly right. Basically, he heard loud yelling and banging coming from the neighbor's house.
Okay. Did Jaleel did you talk to Jaleel?
I did. Great kid. So essentially, he was the very first one popped up and said, yeah, I saw him hit my mom. And so after I got done talking to mom, I talked to him. Mom was in the room, in the master bedroom, present when I talked to the child. However, she was behind him, right? And
okay.
So she was not giving any clues or indications or anything else.
Okay.
He says this, essentially. He was in the hallway. leading from the master bedroom to the front door when he saw the interaction. He saw the first, right? He saw the defendant strike his mother. And I asked him how, and he signaled with an open right hand and an open left hand like this, and he just started batting it back and forth. I said, all right, well, where did it strike? And he wasn't real too clear about it, but he said generally up here in the top of her chest area. All right. And again, then what happened? He says the mom goes back to the master bedroom and stands in front of the master closet right there by the doorway. Now this time he jumps up on the master bed. So he's sitting on bed and he's got a clear view of everything. Dad comes in from the kitchen, presumably with a knife. The child said that he come in with the blade pointed down across his wrist, similar to this, right? With a handle up. When he enters into the room, he gets in close proximity to his mom, about face to face. While he's about here, he flips the knife around so the blade is up and points it at his mom, saying, I'm going to kill you. This is word for word from an 8-year-old. He says he's going to kill you. He then departs, the defendant departs back presumably to the kitchen, and then at this point, mom says something, right? So the defendant comes back into the bedroom, and this 8-year-old child says it was aggressive walking. He said it wasn't running, but it wasn't just casually walking. It was aggressive movement. Grabs his mom by the neck, and I asked him to show me. I got down on a knee. He come up to me, and he put effectively like this. Not crushing her esophagus, but across the corner, the sides of the throat. Just like that. He grabbed her, strangled her, and pushed her into the sliding master door closet, which forced its way in due to the weight. He held her there for an unknown amount of time before letting her get up. Argument continued. Mom tries to flee and retreat into the master bathroom and close the door. He forces the door. Now, juvenile 1 can't see into the bathroom because of the walls and the doors and whatnot, and from his position on the bed. He did hear banging, and he did hear commotion going on. I checked mom for any injuries, and I didn't find any at the time this report was taken, and then I went back a couple of days and I still didn't see anything. But
in your training and experience, is it common to see egg assault strangulation situations where there's not any visible injuries?
Yeah, it is. It could take, and she was dark skinned too, so it could take a while to show up if it ever does.
Have you spoken with kids before that are Jaleel's age?
Yes.
In your training and experience, did you consider Jaleel's statements to you to be something that was significant or credible for the overall investigation that you were conducting?
Yes. With him being because a neighbor called us, there was no time to coach the child. And he was just going off the cuff. He was remembering things that mom didn't even remember, and I had to go back and ask mom. I was like, well, did you ever see a knife? And she goes, oh yeah, he did come at me with a knife. But I feel like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
I feel like the most initial event where she became the most scared was in the master bathroom, where she was totally alone, her children were outside, and he started squeezing her neck while she was pinned against the wall.
And ultimately, did you take warrants out in this case?
Yes, ma'am. I took 3 warrants. Ag assault for the strangulation, ag assault for the threat with a knife, and cruelty to children in the third for doing it in front of juvenile 1.
Okay. And you said earlier when you talked to mom that she said that this happens often and she just tries to leave and get away from her husband?
Yeah, and that was one of the things. After I talked to juvenile 1, I talked to her again, and she says, I'm always afraid he's going to hurt me when he gets up in my face like that. I'm always afraid, so I try to leave. And I asked her, well, when he had the knife, what did you think? And she's like, I thought he was going to stab me. It was one of those events. And I went back, obviously, I talked again to the defendant, and his excuse was, well, I was cooking, and so I had a knife from cooking a meal. And then and I just walked in the room with it, not thinking I forgot to put it down or something.
Was that consistent or inconsistent with what mom and Jaleel said?
That was absolutely inconsistent.
Do you see the defendant anywhere today?
I do.
Can you identify him by a color or facial features?
That's right. He's currently wearing a face mask. He's got a black beard and green top.
Let the record reflect that Officer Simmons has identified the defendant. Is there anything else, Officer, you'd like to add?
Nothing I can think about this time, ma'am.
Thank you. Judge, those are all the questions that I have.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Mr. Lewis?
Thank you, Judge. Is it Officer Simmons?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you. Officer Simmons, was your body cam working on the day when you responded?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay, and did your body cam then capture what the child and the mother and my client said to you prior to you making the arrest?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if I understand you correctly, the child was the first person that told you that his mom was struck. Is that right?
That's correct.
Was the child also, or did the mother tell you about the strangulation first? Was it the child or the mother that talked about that first?
The child first announced that there was physical abuse in the house.
Okay.
And then I talked to the mother, and she's the one who told me that she was strangled in the master bathroom first.
Okay, and if I understand you correctly, the child did not see that strangulation in the bathroom, is that right?
Just the one in the bathroom he did not see. The one in the
Okay.
master bedroom he did see.
Okay, so the 8-year-old told you he did see strangulation in the bedroom, is that right?
That's correct.
And if I understood your direct testimony, the child was the first person that explained that he saw my client with a knife, is that right?
That's correct.
The 8-year-old child, is that my client's biological child?
I would assume from the last name, no.
No, okay, good. So the 8-year-old child is the mother's child, but not my client's child.
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
There were other children in the house, is that right?
There's 4 juveniles total.
Okay, and I'm assuming when you say 8, that was the oldest one. Is that fair to say?
No. There was a
Okay.
10-year-old as well.
Okay, so there's a 10-year-old. The 10-year-old, did you speak to the 10-year-old about the incident at all?
I did. Jeremiah for the court. He's a 10-year-old black man.
All right, and I'm terrible with names, so but I don't miss these ages. The 10-year-old, did the 10-year-old explain that he saw any physicality between my client and his wife?
No, he did not.
Okay, and did the 10-year-old explain where he was? Did the 10-year-old explain where he was in relationship to where the 8-year-old was when the 8-year-old supposedly first saw him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. He was, as you walk into the residence, they have the dining room on the left and then a TV room right to the right, as soon as you walk in. The 10-year-old was sitting in the TV room on a computer, I believe it was a Zoom call with his school. He was doing online schooling at the time. He stated that his back was turned. He wasn't looking directly at the front door nor the master bedroom. He was mainly talking to the computer, and he did hear the disturbance behind him, but he didn't observe anything.
Okay, so while the fight is going on, the incident is going on, the 10-year-old's on his school call. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, 10-8. What's the next youngest child, or next oldest child?
They were itty bitty. They were tiny. They were still in diapers, but they're up and running around. I got date of birth from the mother as November 2nd, 2018, and November 19, 2019.
All right. If I understood your testimony correctly, the 8-year-old told you about the knife first. Is that right?
That's right.
Then the mother told you, oh yes, that's right, there was a knife. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did she say she was threatened with the knife? The mother.
So I talked to them. I asked the mother, hey, do you remember, was there a knife? Do you remember seeing a knife during any of the arguments? She said, she goes, yeah, he did come in here with a knife. And I was like, okay, what happened? And she went into, he pushed me, I forget the exact verbiage, we have to refer it back to the body camera, but essentially, grabbed me by the neck, no, I'm sorry, he pointed it at my face, that's what she said. She pointed at my face, but I don't remember what he said, something like that. So essentially, her recollection was, yeah, there was a knife, he pointed at me, at my face, but I don't recall anything that he said.
Okay, and obviously the most traumatic event, as she described it to you, was the being choked. That's where she thought she was going to die. Is that right?
That was my assumption of the thing because she kept referring back to being strangled.
Okay, and I guess in the way she referred it, the way she made reference and the way you interpreted it, that was the most traumatic part, her being choked. Is that right?
I would hesitate to say that just based off my knowledge, training, and experience. That's one event that she kept referring back to.
Okay, and I guess, you know, my real question is, did she refer to the incident with the knife like she thought she was going to get stabbed in the face or stabbed?
Yes, I asked her, what was your thoughts at the time? She said, I thought he was going to stab me.
Okay, all right. And then you spoke to my client who admitted that he had a knife because he was cooking. Is that right?
That's correct.
But he explained that he never made any threats while he was holding the knife. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you indicated to the court that you saw no, in terms of strangulation, you saw no injuries that day, and you saw no injuries when you returned a few days later. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I checked the neck, behind the ears, and eyes for any types of strangulation. I didn't find anything on the day of the incident, and I believe I was in the same. I was looking for a runaway, and I just happened to be at the same building. I knocked on the door and I saw her again, and I didn't see anything there at that time either.
Oh, okay. And it's fair to say there were no injuries or wounds from any sort of knife, no knife wounds or knife cuts. Is that fair to say?
No, that's fair. Yes, there was no.
When you left, and I understand it's early in the morning, about 8:15 in the morning, were you left with any impression that anybody was under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
I did not get that. No, sir.
Okay. And the mother explained that this type of incident has happened in the past. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Did she show you any prior wounds or injuries from any prior incidents where there had been some physical confrontation?
Not that I recall at this time, but no, sir, not that I recall.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any redirect? Ms.
No, Judge, and the state rests.
Okay. Mr. Lewis, do you have any evidence or witnesses you'd like to present today?
Yes, Judge. I'm gonna call Mr. Carlton Fisher. Mr. Fisher, raise your right hand. Do you swear firm testimony present this afternoon in the case of State of Georgia versus Carlton Fisher will be the truth, the whole truth, and never the truth, so help you God? Okay, you can put your hand down. State your full name.
Judge, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to put something on the record if he's going to testify. It does appear that there is a Barrow County case with the same victim. There's a bench warrant issued on October 27th, 2020. Now, I just emailed that prosecutor in Barrow County to find out if there were any bond conditions prohibiting contact. But I do think that it is possible that if the defendant testifies that what he said could potentially be incriminating. And so I wanted to put on the record that I don't know if there is a stay away. I think there probably is a no contact or no violent contact provision for that family violence battery case against this victim in Barrow County. So I just wanted to caution that in case there was a different position about having the defendant testify. If he still does want to testify, I do want to make sure he understands he has the right not to do so, and anything he says could be used against him.
And Judge, I can explain those rights to him if you want me to.
Okay, I can meet you, and you can go ahead and do that.
I don't know if you want to put that on the record.
If you want to talk to him before we go on the record, that's fine. If you want to proceed, we can just proceed now.
Okay, I want to proceed,
Okay.
and just so we're clear, Judge, the officers testified under oath, putting my client already there, so I don't think my client putting himself there is going to be an issue because the officers already testified to that. We're not contending that it's not my client that's there. I do understand that the prosecutor is allowed to ask him questions. I mean, I'm grateful for the information because the prosecutor is allowed to ask him questions about anything, not just this, but anything that may impact his credibility in relationship to domestic violence or any prior arrests or anything related to that. So, I'm grateful for that information.
And specifically, I want him to know that what he says could be used against him for an aggravated stalking or violating a court order, in addition to used against him in this particular case.
Judge, typically, let me just how a number of magistrate court judges do it. They normally have me advise my client so that the court can hear, make sure the court's satisfied that my client's waiving his right. And so I'm going to advise him in that way rather than doing it on you. So that
Okay.
Mr. Fisher, basically what the prosecutor is saying is you ultimately have a right not to testify. You understand that? Everything is being recorded. It's going out live on YouTube, but whether it was on YouTube or we were in the courtroom, you never have to testify. You understand that? Okay, by testifying, you're opening yourself up. Because the prosecutor, she's taking notes. She's already indicated to you that she's been in touch with another prosecutor. She's hoping to get some information about some other incident that you may or may not have had with that issue in this case. Do you understand that? So you ultimately have a right not to testify, and by testifying.
Mr. Lewis, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Ms. Henderson, let him finish, and then I'll give you an opportunity to come back and say anything that you need to say.
Okay.
Let Mr. Lewis finish advising his client, and then I'll come back and let you.
But it is about that. Just that none of the defendant's answers are being recorded for the record. So if someone comes back for a transcript, the head nods are not sufficient to be anything.
Okay, so thank you. I will advise. So Mr. Fisher, Mr. Lewis is asking you some questions. Although this is video recorded, I'd like to get a verbal response as well. So if you need to say yes or no, as opposed to nodding or shaking your head, just make a verbal response. That way we have both an audio and a visual response. Okay, you understand that, sir? Oh, okay, Mr. Lewis, you may proceed.
Okay, ultimately, what the prosecutor is saying is if you testify, then they give you the testimony against you at a later date. I don't know who's recording this on YouTube. There's a way to record it on YouTube, but ultimately they may be used against you at a later time. If in fact what you say is not truthful, the prosecutor can prove that it's not truthful, she may choose to bring perjury charges against you later. You understand that? Yeah, I didn't roll.
You're still nodding your head. I see you, but I need you to respond orally. If you can do that, okay, verbally, okay. All right.
Okay, good.
So instead of doing this, just say yes or no. Okay. All right.
Okay, good. So
let's try that because I can't hear you. Maybe I can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear you.
That's what it is. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, let's speak up a little bit for us so I can hear you. I'm getting old. So.
Can you hear that?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. All right, you told us your name, Carlton Fisher. How old are you, sir?
I'm 41 years old.
41. And how long have you been living here in the States?
12 years.
All right. How long have you been living with Sheena Heyman?
3.5, 4 years.
3.5, 4 years. Are you married?
No, sir.
Not married. And you have 2 children with her, is that right?
Yes, sir. Youngest one.
Okay, good. Tell us what happened, and you probably should lean forward a little bit. Tell us what happened on the morning when the police officer responded. Do you recall this police officer that you see here responding? Okay, tell us what happened in the morning when he responded.
Pretty much when he came to the door.
I cannot hear.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Pretty much when he came to the door, I was in the middle room, about to go to sleep. As I just said, the TV was up. I turned the TV up because she was making so many noise in the house and being fussy with me. I didn't want to argue with her because I went to work the night before at 7 p.m. I punched in at 7 p.m., got off at 5:30. I worked all the way in Pendergrass from where I stayed at. So it took me like 45 minutes to get to the house. To get to work and back. When I got home, when I got home, every morning, I'm the one who got to stay up and take care of her 2 kids, the 9-year-old and the 8-year-old and the 10-year-old, while she sleeps. I'm the one who get them ready for Zoom class. I'm the one who make them breakfast and all that. It was around 8:30 in the morning, I was trying to go to sleep. But if I go to sleep, what's going to happen is the kids going to get off Zoom and start playing games without doing no class for the day, and she don't wake up until 12:30 in the middle of the day. So I try to stay up at least to 10, 11 every morning to get them do class before I go to sleep and make sure she's up. When I get the 2 boys ready for Zoom, he said, there's no food. I said, y'all go make something to eat. He said, there's no food in the house. I said, what do you mean there's no food in the house? He said, there's nothing to eat. I said, your mom went to the store yesterday. It was like 8:30, 8:45 when I woke her up. I said, hey, can I please talk to you? And I did use the word please. She said, what? I said, the kids out there about to start Zoom and there's no food to eat. And you went to the store yesterday. What happened? She said, I forgot to buy it. I said, can you please go to the store and go buy stuff for your kids to eat? She said, okay. She came in the front room, wrapped in the blanket. She said, okay, I'm going to get ready. She went back to the bathroom. She was there for like 20 minutes or more. So I knocked on the bathroom door and said, what's taking you so long? Apparently, she was on her cycle and she messed the bed up through the night, and she was trying to wash herself off before she went to the store. So I said to her, you're telling me you laid in bed all night with your cycle on, messed the bed up, and you didn't change the tampons when you have tampons? She gets eaten. I said, I don't want to argue with her. So I went back in the front room and sat on the couch watching the TV. On Zoom, when her two sons on Zoom, I said, oh, no, I said, I do not want to argue with you, please. Just go by the egg. I don't want to argue. I said it several times. When she gets to the door, she opened the door, and she started cussing me out. You are the worst person ever.
Judge, I'm sorry. I can't hear. When he's talking fast, I can't hear with the way that the Zoom is.
Can you just slow down a bit for me? Slow down a little bit.
When she gets to the doors, she hold the handle, and she started cursing me out. The worst person there is, and she started using language. I said several times while the kids on Zoom, I said, I do not want to argue. Please go get the eggs so I can go make some breakfast and go sleep. That's all I want to do. She stood there for like 5 minutes, cursing me out. I did not say nothing to her. The only time I open my mouth to her is when I keep saying, I do not want to argue. Please go get the eggs. She said something offensive, and she said, you're not a man. While she said that going up the stairs, I opened the balcony door, went outside, and I said, are you serious? You're calling me, you're saying to me I'm not a man because I woke you up to get eggs to feed your kids? That's the only thing I said to her. She went to the store, she came back, she's still going at it. I said, all I want to do is make some breakfast for your kids and go to sleep. She kept talking, so I gave her a big bag and said, pack your stuff, call your sister and go to your sister's house. The officer even saw the bag on the couch. She didn't mention anything about that. She said, I'm not going nowhere. I control you, I control the house, I control this. I said, please leave. I don't want to argue with you. Just please go. Please leave. Please leave. My house. My name on the lease. I'm the one who paid the rent, $1,200 a month. She don't pay nothing. She don't work. She said, I'm not going nowhere. I control the house. She kept using stuff. The closet door that he talked about is a swing door. It's only on the hook on the top, so the bottom keeps going like this. So the kids always go into the closet and play. I did not touch her. I did not put my hands around her neck. We did not do any physical fight. Because if we did, Jeremiah, the 10-year-old, would have seen it. The only time I said something to her with the knife is when I was in the kitchen. I had a bread knife, and she said something again. I went back there. I did not even go close to her. I was actually cutting the bread, like in a triangle shape, to get to the cave. And that's the only time I went back there. I did not lift the knife. I did not threaten her. I did not say nothing to her about killing her. Nothing that the officer said, not at one time. I went back to the kitchen. I said, since you got it, don't say I got it. I said, since you got it, go ahead and feed the kids. So I leave everything, turned the TV up, and went in the guest room about to go to sleep. That's when this officer came and knocked on my door.
Mr. Lewis, are you speaking to your client or to the court?
To the court. Sorry, Judge.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. The officer indicated that the 8-year-old indicated that you had strangled her. Did you hear that testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The officer also indicated that in his impression she was dark skinned. Is that also your impression?
No, she's light skinned. She's not like Mr. Lewis' complexion. She's way better than me.
I didn't hear any of that. Sorry. I heard Mr. Lewis.
she's super light skin because our kids is like the officer complexion. Her two kids. She's like the officer complexion. He saw it, he know it. So, and he's lying to because he know that she's super light skin. So if any mark at her neck, he would have seen it. At no point in time did I raise my hand to even touch her or even choke her.
Mr. Lewis, I cannot hear you if you're speaking.
I'm sorry. I'm just telling my client and telling the court that's all the questions that I have. The prosecutor is going to ask him some questions, and that he should listen to the question and answer the question that she's going to ask.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Henderson?
Thank you. Mr. Fisher, my name is Michaela Henderson. I'm the prosecutor. I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you living with her with Sheena at this time?
She's living with me. I'm the only person in the lease. She has nowhere to go. That's why she's in the house.
But for all intents, she was living with you. You were staying at the same place.
Yes, ma'am.
When you said that you guys were arguing, what kind of tone of voice did she have?
She was super loud. And she was very upset that I woke her up at 8:30 to go get stuff to make breakfast for her kids.
And what kind of voice level do you think that you had?
Hey, I want to go sleep. Can you please? I know how she is. She will get super loud. She's like super loud. So I know how she is. So I try to keep my voice down so that way she don't get upset. Can you please? I don't want to argue. Please, I don't want to argue. Please, I don't want to argue. And no, sir, no, because the kids was on Zoom. The kids was on Zoom. Like at the time they were on Zoom because Zoom started at 8:15.
Zoom, okay. Zoom for school.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm checking something out. I just got an order from Barrow in this case. So, how long have you guys been together?
My baby is 2 years old. My first one is 2 years old. My baby is 1. So we're going on almost 3.5, 4 years, pretty much, if I'm correct.
4 years?
Something like that. Something like that, if I'm correct. I think we met around her birthday in either 2017 or either 2018.
When you said the victim was cursing you out, how loud was your voice?
Like I said, she was on Zoom. I mean, like the kids was on Zoom. They were in the middle of class. So my voice was down. I know how she is. So my voice was down because I was in the front room. I was the only person who was up with the 2 kids in the front room while they were on Zoom.
I got the Zoom part. I'm just wondering, what kind of tone of voice were you using?
Man, my voice was down low because they were on Zoom next to me in the front room. So my voice was low.
Okay, the tone of voice you're using right now, is that similar to what you were using at the time?
If I'm talking loud now, the judge, you guys can't hear me, so I gotta speak up so you guys will hear me. But my voice wasn't this low. My voice wasn't this high. It was like low pitch.
Okay, so what are you saying happened with the closet doors?
It's a string door. So at the top, the door is like, the only way the door is like this. There's nothing to hold it at the bottom, so the door is swinging like this at all times. So all the doors in the apartments is swing like this. So if you go and lean against it, it will stay inside. There's nothing at the bottom to hold it, or to the side. There's something at the top that's holding it, so they all swing like this. And that's how it swings.
Okay, so your testimony, I just want to make sure the kids are Zooming, right? They're doing school.
Yes, ma'am.
Your voice is down low because they're doing school.
Yes, ma'am.
And the victim is sleeping or going to get eggs?
She was sleeping when I woke her up to go get eggs because they were on Zoom, and I said to them, go make something to eat. There was no food to eat. So I was tired because I just got off work. So I just woke her up with no intention of arguing to go get some eggs for me to cook for the kids.
Did you ever push her?
No.
Did she push you?
She got hit me several times. Like I told, when the officer came and they told him that she didn't hit me, but she had hit me several times, and that day she did hit me because she always do that and put her hands on me.
Okay, so you're saying right now that she did put hands on you?
Yes, ma'am, several times.
But you say you didn't put any hands on her?
No, ma'am, because I know how she is, and I know that in a situation, if I ever touch a female, it's going to go bad for me. If I ever hit her, trust me.
How tall is Sheena?
Sheena is maybe 5'9", something like that.
How tall are you?
5'8", 5'9".
Okay, so you have a case in Barrow County, is that right?
Repeat?
You have a criminal case in Barrow County?
Yes, ma'am.
For battery, right?
Is that what the charge says?
Well, I'm not, my question is just what you understand it to be. If
Yes,
you're not
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
and you got a bond in Barrow County, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
In January?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were some conditions or promises that you made. Do you agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
And one of them was that you were not supposed to have any violent contact with Sheena. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. That's the reason why I didn't put my hands on her.
And is it your understanding that you have court in Barrow County?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you know there's a bench warrant out for you in Barrow County?
I don't know that. I didn't know that.
Were you supposed to go to court last month?
November?
In October. October 27th.
They sent me, there's no bench warrant for me. They sent me a court date. And when I keep calling the prosecutor. So when I called, the lady who kept answering the phone said, because there was coronavirus going on, because they sent me a court date, I had to enter the house. They said that we was sending a next letter 2 weeks prior to the next court date. And I kept calling her. The last time I called her, she said, you don't have to call that much. We'll send you a letter 2 weeks before court date. So there's nowhere to go for me.
So did you know there was a bench warrant out for you?
There's nowhere to go for me for court because they sent a letter to my house for court date on September, I think it was 9 or something like that. And I called a lady. But because in the letter they said if they have nothing pertaining to coronavirus, you should call. I had just been tested 2 days before the court date, and I called her and she said, you don't have to come to court. We're going to put you on the list of not coming to court. And I called her the day after, she said, you do not have to keep calling. We're going to send you a letter again 2 weeks before, prior to the court date. And every morning when I get off work, I stop by the mailbox to check for the letter, and there was none ever came to the house. Not one.
So you just didn't get that one notice is what you're saying?
I only get one from her from the court in September around 9 or something like that. That's the only one I got. Didn't get any more.
Okay, Judge, I don't have any other questions.
Just so you're aware, I'm sure you probably heard, this incident where my client got arrested occurred on October 28th of 2020. I don't know what day the prosecutor believes the bench warrant was issued. It's certainly possible the bench warrant was issued. He doesn't know. I don't know what day the bench warrant is issued. I don't have any other questions for him. I just wanted to remind the court that although we're here December the 2nd, he didn't get arrested in November. He got arrested October the 28th. So I don't have any other questions for him, Judge, as it relates to the preliminary hearing. I don't know if the prosecutor has other questions for the officer.
I do not have other questions.
All right.
So, Judge, that's all the evidence that I have. I only have very brief argument. Obviously, the court is going to have to decide what version that ultimately the court believes. Credibility is always an issue. We don't have the victim here for me to cross-examine the victim. All you have is the officer's testimony about what the victim says. And I would contend, Judge, it's not enough to bind over the case as a felony aggravated assault. The officer has a memory a little bit different about the skin tone, skin color of the victim. I suspect that my client would know that a little bit better than the officer. The officer may have had 1 or 2 occasions of meeting with her. My client lived with her. So when he describes her as light skin and the officer describes her dark skin, I suspect that the officer, unlike what my client's version is, I don't necessarily think the officer lied. I think the officer just using one incident for another. The most important part is she doesn't have any injuries. She's not stabbed or cut with any knife. She has no injuries from being strangled in any bathroom or floor or any other time. She has no injuries, any pre-existing injuries from any prior occasions, but she alleges that my client was physically abusive towards her. And for that reason, Judge, I would argue, if anything, the charges should be bound over as simple battery charges. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Henderson?
Judge, there definitely is probable cause here. We have testimony from the officer that talked about the victim that was corroborated by the 8-year-old Jaleel. I ask Your Honor to find that the information we have from the defendant is not credible. It's not consistent with the other evidence. And any credibility determination ultimately should be a question for a jury to decide. We have met the probable cause standard for the first aggravated assault with the knife, and for the aggravated assault for the strangulation, as well as the cruelty for this happening in front of Jaleel. So I'd ask you to bind over all of these charges.
I have a question. Was the 10-year-old, where was the 10-year-old? I know where he was in the apartment, but where was the 10-year-old with regard to Mr. Fisher and his mother? Where was he? Because he said this is an apartment, so it's probably not too big. I'm just trying to figure out where was he? So he didn't see or hear anything?
Your Honor, that's...
I'm sorry?
The information that I recall us getting from the officer was that he spoke briefly with Jeremiah, who was 10 years old, but that he didn't feel that there was sufficient evidence to find that he was there to see or hear the act, because Jaleel was actually sitting on the bed in the bedroom when it happened.
Okay, and so Officer Simmons, he said the 10-year-old said he didn't hear or see anything.
No, Judge, that's not what I said or he said. He didn't feel there was sufficient evidence from Jeremiah that he had seen or heard the way that Jaleel did, because Jaleel was in the master bedroom on the bed. If we need to reopen evidence to talk to Simmons, we can do that.
And I don't have any objection to that, Judge. The question is, what did the 10-year-old see? That's the question. What did the 10-year-old see? I think that's the court's question. I don't have any objection to reopening evidence.
Okay, so we can do that briefly.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Officer Simmons, you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you're already sworn. You can hear that we're talking about Jeremiah and what he told you.
Yes, ma'am. So I spoke to Jeremiah. He said that he was on the Zoom call in the living room, the TV room, on the couch. He said he did hear the commotion going on behind him, but at no time did he actually turn away from the Zoom call and see any physical violence between the defendant or the victim.
Okay, Judge, I don't have any other questions. If Your Honor or defense has questions.
I think you'll recall that the 8-year-old first says that there's contact near the door, which should have been exactly where the 10-year-old is, but I don't have any other questions for the officer.
Okay, thank you. I am going to find that there is sufficient probable cause to bind over all the charges at warrant 20W15074, the aggravated assault, warrant 20W15075, aggravated assault, warrant 20W15076, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Mr. Lewis, would you like to be heard on bond?
Yes, Judge. I'm going to respectfully request a bond amount of $5,000, and my client's still sworn. I can have him tell you a little bit about his work. I've already had a conversation with him that he probably should have no contact, that he's probably going to need. He may have lost his job because obviously he's been sitting in custody for 5 weeks now. And he's indicated to me he believes he may have lost his job, but he anticipates he'll be able to get work, and he anticipates that he's probably going to end up being separated from this woman. And so what I've indicated to him is if in fact the court sets a bond, he's going to basically need to have no contact. Forget about no violent contact, he just needs to have no contact. He needs to get himself together, and then he needs to establish paternity since he's not married, and then he needs to work out the visitation, custody schedule with this woman and just try to move forward. I fully expect, Judge, that he's going to be living in the Gwinnett area. He'll be living somewhere near here. If in fact he posts bond, the prosecutor can tell you a little bit more about his record. I don't think that it has anything other than this incident and the prior incident with the other woman out of Broward County.
Ms. Henderson?
Judge, I'm asking you to continue holding this defendant without bond on the grounds that he is a danger to the victim and to the community, and that he is at risk of committing a felony pending release. He did complete first offender in 2010 for tampering, and so that is complete. 2014, a terroristic threat that was pled to disorderly conduct in Cobb County. And then, of course, he has got the family violence battery arrest in Barrow County. There were 4 different arraignments, and then the bench warrant was issued on 10/27/20. That is with the same victim, and he was ordered specifically to have no violent contact with her. Given the testimony that we heard, the emphasis from the defendant on not what he did or the victim or his son, but the fact that she didn't make breakfast and forgot to buy eggs and was sleeping. Judge, he's not somebody who can follow court orders to be able to stay away from this victim and have no contact. So she would be in danger if he were released pending a trial.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Henderson. I'm not going to grant bond in this situation. I do believe that he is a danger to her. He, obviously was out on bond when this all happened back in October. So I am not going to grant a bond on that. Obviously, you could take that up with Superior Court at a later date.
Yes, Judge.